Hi everybody, welcome back to Plastic Models by Regular Dude, and part number 7, the Hasegawa 148 scale F6F-3 Hellcat project. So as you can see, I left off last time with finishing up with the markings, getting those painted on, and yeah, all that. So next thing I need to do is I need to paint some detail stuff, namely the machine guns, and let's see what else we got. Machine guns, that's all on here. And then I need to paint the yellow tips on the prop. I need to apply the decals, and once I do that, I need to put a couple of other decals, specifically these here that say Royal Navy JW 564. I need to put those on the fuselage, and then once I do that, I can do a clear coat and start on some weathering stuff. So let me get some paints out and I'll start working on some of these details. All right, my first color is going to be, I'm using Vallejo Model Air NATO Black to paint the barrels on the machine guns. And once they dry and I start working on the weathering, I'll dry brush it real quick, like with some silver. But first, I need to paint these. Okay, so next up, I'm going to tape off for the prop tips like this. I already sprayed this with Tamiya X1 gloss black. Since I got to put a decal on it, and I'm going to spray it flat, so this on here like that. Okay, the decals went down fine. Even though they're old decals, they worked great. So I put some microsol in there to kind of get them to settle into the panel line. Now I mixed up some 502 Abteilung dark mud wash here with some mineral spirits, and I like this color because it's not too stark and it works really good on stuff like this. And as you can see, it is working wonderfully. I was hoping that this paint would do this. With Tamiya, I found that unless I cut it with some gloss, I have a real problem with it spreading into the flat surface instead of just hugging the surface detail, or the detail I'm trying to outline. So as you can see, it is working really good. So Mr. Hobby Aqueous paint is awesome stuff. Really stoked. So I'm going to work on this a little bit, get some of this done in here, then try and finish up the landing gear so I can start thinking about installing it, so we can get some weathering done. Real quick, let me show you again how this stuff's working. It is just creeping right through those seam and panel lines. I am stoked. It is working great. So I'm gonna try something here before I get too far with the oil wash, and that's the Ultimate Weathering Wash, clay wash. I've used on aircraft before, but the biggest problem I have, again, with the really flat paints, it stains really bad, and I think I'm going to be able to use it on this paint here. So that is what I'm going to do. I'm going to try it out here on the lower surface of the horizontal stabilizer here, and I'm using the light dirt again because it's kind of a brownish, it's a light brown color, and I think it'll look good on here. So I'm just gonna apply it, let it sit for a few minutes, and then see if it'll wipe off, because this is a lot easier than trying to do a whole pin wash and the whole thing, and I don't like just slathering an oil wash on here and then trying to wipe it off. It's pretty smelly. It's a lot of risk involved for a person like me, so I'm just going to try it out here and see what we came up with. So there we go. So let's let that sit and then see if it wipes off. All right, so I did this side here, and as you can see, it wipes off wonderfully. So this is going to be a little bit of a time saver for me. As you can see, it is just wiping right off. Oh man, I am phenomenally stoked. Okay, I'm really stoked. One more thing to like about this paint, and you're not going to hear me ease up on my compliments of this paint. So I'm going to apply some more of this stuff all over the bottom, and then we'll flip it over and do the top. So what I'm doing now is I'm using a Q-tip / cotton bud, and I am scrubbing this off, as you can see here. And I'm doing it because it will leave a little bit of staining. I'm doing it in the direction of airflow. It's one of the nice things about this particular product is the fact that you're kind of doing two things at once, and it just looks really cool. So I'm going to continue working on this and then come back, take a look. And there's the bottom, complete with the Ultimate Weathering Wash Light Dirt. So now we can flip it over and work on the top. So for the upper surfaces, since it's darker colors, I'm going to use dark dirt. It's almost a black, but once it dries, it's a little more brown, but it's a darker brown. See, it's pretty black looking. But I've already tested it, and it should be fine, so I'm going to test it on a bigger surface here. Like this. And then let it dry. And then rub it off. So let that sit for a few minutes and come back. All right, so here's how it looks after the clay wash has been wiped off. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do here is Abteilung engine grease. Put it right behind this seam right there, and also a little bit right behind the cowling in the middle. Not too much, but just enough to get some streaks going. And just take, I'm using a dry brush here, and just, oh, I need a little bit of thinner on there. That's too dry. Just a little bit, and hopefully, I didn't get enough on there. I'm gonna have to put some more, but it's better to start out with not enough than too much. But that's kind of the effect I'm going for. I don't want it like real goopy, nasty looking. So let's put a little bit more on there. About like that. Let's try that. Much better. That. Splendid. All right, the next thing I'm going to do, and it's going to be tedious, so I'm not going to video all this, but I'm going to be using light mud again, and I'm going to be doing small sections at a time. I'm basically going to do some oil dot filter kind of thing. And all I'm doing is putting that on there like that, and using this small brush, totally dry, just stippling it on there like that. And I'm just going to do a section at a time so I can control, you know, what I'm doing. If I get too much, I can remove it. If I don't put enough, I can add some more. Just to make it not quite so vivid. Like that. Okay, after getting all of that dot filtering done, I installed the landing gear. So now, just need to let that dry a little bit. And while I did that, I put some clay wash on these landing gear doors so they would match the rest of the underside. So clean those up. Like that. Once those are dry, then I can glue them onto the, or once these are dry, I can glue the landing gear doors onto it and get that wrapped up. So in the meantime, I think I will do a little bit of, with some silver, do a little work on the edges of the propeller blades there to show scuffing and slight chipping. So here's what I'm doing. I'm using this brush here, dipping it in my aluminum Vallejo Model Air paint, getting most of it off, and then just lightly flaking about a 45-degree angle to that leading edge there. Then once I get all the way across, then I'm going down the back like that. I don't want to create too much, but like that. And then switch my brush here. Just like that, not too much. I'm trying to keep it in scale here. I don't want to be big old chunks coming off. Just like that. Less is more. Alright, so I got the landing gear doors glued in place. I didn't do it on camera because my head was getting down in the way and I didn't want to, you know, do any of that kind of stuff. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to spray the remaining parts with a flat clear, and for that I'm going to be using Tamiya XF86 flat clear. All right, I got my clear coat on. So the next thing I'm going to do, just to see how it turned out, is peel the tape off of. Actually, I'm going to wait before I do that. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use some silver, and I'm going to scuff up and chip right along this walkway here, and a little bit on this side here. And once I do that, then I can do a little bit of muddying up and weathering and stuff like that for it. So let me get some silver out. So to do this, I'm using a little piece of sponge. Just creating some scuffed up area. Careful to overlap some of it so a discernible pattern doesn't appear. Twist it a little bit. And just to play it safe, so I don't get too much where I don't want it, put a piece of tape right there just to kind of block it off so I can kind of get it down in the corner there, the wing root. And I'm just getting most of it off on a paper towel. Like that, not too shabby. Generally like to use the hairspray technique, but That was not possible. In this case, because I forgot to do it. That's actually turned out pretty good, so I'm stoked with that. So I'm going to do some of this elsewhere too, but I'm going to do it in a different way and I'll show you. Okay, I'm using the sponge again and I'm chipping around the ammo loading access hatches or doors, whatever you want to call them. And what I've done is I've taped off around them, done some chipping, retaped, and that way you don't get overlapping chipping going on, if that makes any sense. That way this chipping out here does not match the chipping in here. Excuse me, sorry. So I'm going to do a little bit more around these here. Don't even know what they are, but they look like they need to be chipped, so that's what I'm going to do. So do that like that. Get some paint on the sponge, dab it till it's like almost paintless, and then gently sort out real easy, that way you don't overdo it. And just hit it, and by taping it off, the chips go right to the very edge. Without overlapping onto the rest of it. Just makes it look a little more realistic. So next up, I'm using this here Tamiya Weathering Master stuff. It's got different colors, and I like the ease of it, and it makes a reasonable facsimile of soot and exhaust. So as you can see, that is what I'm going to do here. I'm also going to use it to create the streaking out of the spent shell casing chutes. So basically I'm just going to smudge it on here like that. I got the tape to keep it from going outside of these initial troughs, or whatever you want to call them. Switch from that small one, which did not come with the set. I actually bought these at the local hobby shop. Larger one. Just rub some on there, and then carefully begin streaking backwards like this. I looked online to see what kind of a pattern it created, and it was kind of a smudge back and then kind of toward the center thing. I don't want to get it too dirty because sorry about my noggin getting in the way there, folks, but yeah. It's easier to do it like this. Like that. So we got some nice exhaust stuff going on there. Make sure it's pretty even. And I'll have to do the same thing up here, kind of a curved to go with the airflow. But that looks pretty good. I'm digging that. So and I need to check. I think this might be another place where exhaust comes out, but I need to check that out. Okay, so the next thing I'm doing is putting the exhaust coming out of the top exhaust pipes. And an easy way to do this, I'm discovering, using the same stuff, but then using the contour of the wing itself allows me to keep it in a good flow pattern along the wing's edge, like that. So that is that. So I've got the prop attached. Now I'm gonna glue the drop tank on real quick like. So next thing I need to do, and I usually save this stuff for last unless it calls for it sooner, the lights and the landing light there. I also need to paint the wingtip lights. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to paint this, this, and this in silver. And I'm going to use my Vallejo acrylic metal color aluminum. So I've got a little bit of it here in this plastic lid. See, let's do this one first. And one thing I got to note on this kit is the detail around this light, and this is going to sound dumb, but a lot of times it kind of gets lost in the molding process or something, and it just looks really good on this. The rivet detail is really fine. The seam line around there, it just, I don't know, it's just really good. I like this. Overall, I have to say that thus far I'm impressed with this Hasegawa kit, and being my first one, I'm really stoked. So I'll do these wing tips. All right, next thing I'm going to do is put the paint for these marker lights or whatever they are. I'm just going to use a toothpick, and it's red, blue, and yellow. I'm using Vallejo model color. I'm just going to use a toothpick, drop a little dot in the bottom of the recess there, and hope I don't touch the because a clear lens goes over top of this. So we'll just drop that in there, let that dry good. Before I attempt to put the lenses in. Just like that, let that dry. Okay, so the paint is dried on those, so I'm going to install the little glass pieces, and then all I'll have to do is just paint the wingtip lights. I don't know what the proper terminology is for those, but I need to paint them. All right, next I need to paint the wingtip lights. This one here is red, that one there is blue. Let me double check. Yep, red, blue. So, do that real quick like. And then the last parts I need to glue on are these little teeny tiny lights that go on top. M1 goes here, M2 goes there, and hopefully I can do this without losing it. So we'll take a little bit of this clear parts glue and put it right there. Take this ultra tiny little light. Because of its roundness, I can't get a grip on it. Oh my goodness. I can't get a grip on it with tweezers. So hopefully, gripping it like this, I can drop it. So this is going to take me a bit, so I'm going to do this off camera. Success. It was actually easier than I thought it would be. And that concludes all of the plastic parts for this kit. So next thing I need to do is peel off the masking there for the, what you call that, canopy. Okay, there is one last thing I need to do before I can put the aerial in place here, and that's glue this little, or make a little stub here. So it didn't come with that part, so what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to drill a little tiny hole and use a little tiny piece of wire and glue it in there. Then I can attach the aerial. Okay, I've got that in, so while it's drying, I'm going to use Easy Line to make my aerial, and it's actually it's quite simple to do. I'm going to take, in this hand here, and I am going to dip the end in super glue and then hold it in place right there, giving it a few seconds. And let that hang there for a minute so it can dry. Then I'm going to get one of my custom super glue applicators here, pretty high tech, and get some on the end of it, put a little dab, hopefully, right there. Doesn't take much, but stretch it, rest it across the top where I just applied it. Letting it dry. Okay, so I've got it glued here, and all I need to do is glue it to there, but I'm gonna do that off camera because that is gonna wrap this kit up. So when I come back, I'll have it on the pedestal and talk a little bit about the kit, what I thought of it, and then I'll do some glamour shots, and this video will be over. So hang tight, and I'll come back in a minute. Alrighty then, here it is, all done, and all of its British camo scheme glory. So, thoughts on the kit. It's my first Hasegawa kit I ever built, and I have to say that I really liked it. It was a really good kit, fit together well, nothing weird. All the detail all over it, the panel lines, rivets, hatches, all that stuff, just really, really good. The engine was, by some standards, could be considered basic, but considering you see this much of it, that is a total non-issue and makes the build more enjoyable because you're not having to mess around with a bunch of stuff you're not going to see anyway. So yeah, everything fit together really good. Didn't have any problems with it at all. Not really too much. I mean, there was a few little seams I had to mess with on the fuselage, but that's to be expected in almost all kits of aircraft. You know, aircraft in nature. So no complaints at all. Really, really good kit. So if any of you ever, you know, run across one of these and, you know, you can pick it up, I would suggest it. I would recommend this kit. This is a recommended kit. And before I start the slideshow here, I do want to send out two special thanks. One to Ezra Talavera from Kitmaker Network Aeroscale Forum. He sent me the decals that I use for the pattern for my stencils or masks for the markings. The decals I did use, they worked great. They didn't fall apart or anything weird like that. So thanks, Ezra. I really appreciate it. And also to Eric Davenport for sending me the kit to begin with. Eric, this was a really fun kit. I really appreciate it, and thanks for sending it my way. So, here ends part 7 and the complete build of the Hasegawa 148 scale Hellcat F6F-3 and FAA markings. So as always, thanks for watching Plastic Models by a Regular Dude. If you have any questions, comments, any experience with this kit, just put them in the comments section down below. Stay tuned after I quit blabbing for the slideshow. And as always, thanks for watching, and I will see you all later.